About 6 years ago, former Vice President of the US, Al Gore, debuted with a documentary called The Inconvenient Truth. In this document, Al Gore addressed the people of the United States with a serious natural problem: global warming. Ever since then, people have had different reactions regarding global warming all over the nation. Some panicked, and others were skeptical. Regardless of what people think, one thing is for sure: global warming is real, and it will change the climate as we know it if we let it continue. So what exactly is global warming, and what causes it? Global warming is an abnormal rise in the climate of the Earth, which is caused by excess carbon dioxide released into the air. These carbon dioxides are released by cars, factories, power plants, and anything that requires fossil fuel. The carbon dioxide in the atmosphere traps the sunlight and prevents it from escaping, which gradually heats up the Earth. As Earth heats up, it will cause many forest fires and habitat destruction. As you can see here, as ice cap melts, the habitats in which polar bears live diminish continuously. Ultimately, the destruction of the habitats will eventually affect the lives of humans as well, as we keep losing natural resources due to global warming. People generally ask what they can do to prevent this cause. The answer is simple: conserve energy. Currently, the United States government is focusing its efforts on finding alternative energy sources, such as wind power, water power, and solar power. Top leading car companies such as Toyota and Honda have made fuel-efficient hybrid cars. Many house owners have either switched or considering powering their houses with solar power panels. People say doing these things above might cost them too much. That's fine, because there are many simple things we can do to help prevent global warming. For example, if you're planning on going somewhere not too far from where you live, try to walk or bike to that place. There are many transportation methods you can use to get to the places you want without having to waste gasoline and put out more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Also, when you're cleaning your house and you find yourself with a bunch of trash, try to recycle. It takes a lot of energy for factories to create plastic bottles and papers. If you recycle these things, you can use them over and over again, without having to cut down more trees and waste energy. Lastly, if there's space available, plant a tree in your neighborhood. Trees are the #1 consumers of carbon dioxide. More trees in the earth can help get rid of excess carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, which can help the Earth's climate go back to normal conditions. Getting rid of global warming is not an easy task. It will be a challenge for every one of us to get the Earth back into its normal climate. However, if everybody works together to do the things we have mentioned, then global warming will not be hard to fight at all.
Look at the data over, say, 200 years to 1,000 years, you see that there is trending that's occurring. There are peaks and valleys over time. But for all of us that have probably seen Al Gore's video, when he gets on the crane and goes up to kind of the point where we're at today, it's extremely higher than any type of temperature rise or sea level rise that we've experienced in the last century or so. And it's very hard to argue that that's from anthropogenic or human sources of greenhouse gas emissions concentrations that are put into the atmosphere.
When I first started this project, I thought this topic was going to be easy, and back then I didn't really even believe in global warming. But as I've researched through stuff, and I realized that global warming is a far serious problem than I realized. And I think if the community doesn't do something about this problem soon, I think the Earth will be perished in about 30 years or so. So I believe that we should get the community together to start doing stuff to make a change about this problem, because if you don't do things quickly, then we might lose all the natural resources we have. And I guess what I'm saying is I've changed a lot from what I thought about global warming.
What we found is, not surprisingly, in Cupertino, a lot is coming from transportation because people are driving to and from work. We don't have a lot of alternative transportation opportunities here, so you see a lot of single occupancy vehicles on the road. And also from a residential sector. We do have some large businesses in Cupertino, but we have over 20,000 homes, and all of those homes require energy for you to light your home, for you to cook with your stove, so on and so forth. People typically don't think of the climate impact pertaining to water, but it takes pumping. You need to physically pump the water to get it to your home. So you're reducing not only your water consumption, but also the electricity consumption by reducing the pumping. And drought is going to be a really big issue in the future for California. With reduced snowfall, we have reduced snowpack, which basically feeds into our watershed. And we'll have that'll be reduced drastically once climate change kind of takes effect. So we need to take precautions now and implement changes that can reduce our consumption on that end. People tend to think, when you talk about sea level rise, they think there's going to be this influx of water, but currently we don't have desalinization facilities to give us potable water. So we're relying again on that snow melt to feed or to offer us the water resources that we need for consumption. All of us are responsible. It's hard to kind of pinpoint that, You could certainly say that it's electricity companies, but we're the ones that are demanding electricity. So I think humans, every single one of us has a responsibility to climate change. We have some great organizations here locally, like the Audubon Society, that is working on kind of resource conservation and protection. We have the Stevens and Permanente Creek Watershed Council that's working on protecting and preserving our watershed. I mentioned earlier Acterra is a great organization to support. They are offering basically, tangible actions for people to take in their homes that can directly reduce their consumption and their demands on the utility system. Developing countries don't have to rely on the kind of dirty, polluting energy sources that the U.S. did when we were growing so rapidly. Back in the day. The lessons learned here will be shared throughout the rest of the world.
We decided to direct our project towards the adults of the community because they are the ones that own the homes which consume the electricity. Also, we hope that they make an effort to conserve and that their conservation efforts will rub off on their children, so when their children grow up, they will conserve as well.
Is about 10 different actions in the home, and it can save homeowners about $200 off their energy and water bills per year, and also reduce their climate impacts or their greenhouse gas emissions associated with their home and running their home by about 1/5.